I can't stop this podcast. I can't stop this podcast. I got a crazy little podcast. I can't stop this podcast. All right, this is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I am your host, Dennis Wirth. December 30th, 2020, episode 92. Here to discuss, going way, way back, one of the legends of comedy, Mr. Robert Klein. As always, Funny Clown Podcast brought to you by G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. Bam. Go to the website, www.gvegas.webs.com. Order some up, man. Get it to your house. That just looked good. Oh, you can smell it right through the body. I'm going to break it in a second. That's what I'm going to do. But anyway, get yourself some Buffalo Sauce, man. They're our sponsor. They bring you comedy to discuss people like Robert Klein. And, man, this takes us back to a different day and age than today's day and age. Way back to the 70s, which was a special time in comedy where, the Lenny Bruces and the Carlins, they paved the way. Well, this guy was right there paving the way with them. Working clean, while the Lenny Bruces and the George Carlins, they were doing the dirty thing and breaking the rules and getting arrested and fighting for rights. This guy was doing it the clean way, doing it the family way, doing it the appropriate way, I guess you'd say, if you're an appropriate person, okay? Now, I'm not an appropriate person. I got a big mouth. That's what I do. I get myself in trouble a lot, but you are who you are. You got to be who you are, and that's who this guy was. And, let's see, had several comedy albums in the 1970s, nominated for Best Actor, they're playing our song in 1979, and something only most comedians could dream to do, hosted Saturday Night Live twice, okay? And, this guy got to start back when the Ed Sullivan Show was around, okay? So, most of the older people our age remember the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. If you got on there in the Johnny Carson era, you were a made comic. Well, before Johnny Carson, if you got on the Ed Sullivan Show, you were made. I remember the Beatles wanted to get on there, and Ed Sullivan couldn't stand the Beatles. He said he'd never have them on, and the Beatles just got so big that they overpowered Ed Sullivan himself that he had to put them on, because that's what the people demanded. And no host is above the people. They're the ones who pay the bills. They're the ones who tune you in. Nobody's above. So he gave the people what they wanted. They wanted the Beatles. Apparently they wanted Robert Klein. Rodney Dangerfield. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show a lot too. He was a friend of Robert Klein's. Great fishing story. He talks about he saved Rodney's life one time. Him and Rodney were right here in Massachusetts, out in Cape Cod, Buzzards Bay, and Rodney decided he wanted to rent a boat, and a sailboat. Had no idea how to friggin' sail. Never sailed in his life, but just, hey, it's a beautiful day. We're on the coast. Let's get a boat. And Rodney, I guess, says, give me the keys. There's no keys to a sailboat. You sail. So went out there. It was a funny story. You got to look it up on YouTube. Robert can tell you. Told it, I believe, on the Jimmy Kimmel Show when he was a guest on there. Ironically enough, when you're young, you don't know what you want to do. I went to a trade school for auto body. I never followed auto body. There was always something I had to fall back on. But you're too young to make a decision at that age. But it prepares you for what you finally want to do in life. Went to school to study medicine. During his studies, he changed over, figured out that wasn't for him, changed to acting. And at Yale, he was in drama school. So if you're in Yale, it's one of the top schools. He's in the drama school. He learned of an audition for the Second City, which that was like a theater comedy improv thing at the time, where they did improv comedy at the theater. They were having an audition, so hey, you're gonna go down and audition for some improv comedy. He was chosen out of a bunch of people in the waiting room, and he said it was all hopeful comedians. He was there with then hopeful comedian Fred Willard, and everybody knows Fred Willard. And they got picked, man, and they did some improv comedy there for a while. Returning to New York, that got his foot in the door. Once he got that credit, earned him some work on Broadway. He was in the musical The Apple Tree. You're working on Broadway, baby. That's the top of New York. Not everybody makes it on Broadway. Let's see. 1970. He he earned a spot on the Comedy Tonight TV series. And that was his first bit on television there. It was a show called Comedy Tonight, where I guess they showcased the comedy talent of the time. You know, you're working on Broadway, you're doing some improv, you're on TV. Once you're on TV, people know you are, they want more. Where do you get more? You release an album, which today, you know, you can't release an album anymore because of that free downloading. You release comedy specials. But back then, it was actually records. And if the kids don't know what a record is, those big round things that they used to put music on back before there were... before CDs, before cassette tapes, they had the old 33s and 45s, the big and smallest record. You put on a record player, you drop a little needle on it, and the needle would play the music. And it's been a long time since then. I remember, geez, I seen a video. Some kids were given an old telephone, and they couldn't figure out, you know, the old, you had a rotary dial. They couldn't figure it out for the frickin' life of them because they're so used to the cell phones of today. But that's the day and age it is. What era did you grow up in? Now it's all just touch your computer, so why would you know what a record player is? But in the 70s, they had record players. They had some record albums and some legendary ones at the time. 1975, HBO, the new thing. You know, this was pay television where now you could, you know, not that they encourage you to use the F-bomb, but I mean, you could get away with material you couldn't get away with on, say, standard television. So this opened up for blue comedy, your dirty comics, a whole new world where you could be seen on television, where before that you had no chance, you had to work clean because it was government-regulated television. That's it. This was the guy. I mean, all the HBO specials of comedy we've seen, the half-hour comedy specials, the legendary comedy specials. George Carlin, he holds the record, I believe, for most HBO comedy specials. But this guy, man, Robert Klein, he did the first one, and he ended it with his most popular bit to date, I Can't Stop My Leg, where he does a blues thing with the harmonica. I kind of copied it at the open I Can't Stop This podcast, but you know, he'd do a little blues riff, he'd start shaking his leg, and then when he got to the words, I can't stop my leg. It was so simple, it was genius. You know, you could sit down and think out a routine for hours and hours and hours and not come up with something as legendary and simple as I Can't Stop My Leg, which it's so simple, it's genius. I often said that about William Hung on America's Got Talent. He was so bad, he was good. Well, that was so simple, it was genius. Okay, it's the same effect right there. Geez, hey, what comedian? I mean, Bill Burr, certainly, he recently did it, and I think, you know, I listened to his podcast where he talked about he hosted Saturday Night Live, and what an honor it was, and, you know, he walked in there, and he was humbled by the, you know, I mean, he's a big enough comedian, he don't need Saturday Night Live, but it's such a legendary show where all the legends of comedy did it before you. How do you not be humbled by that? And he said he walked in, and he was very gracious, and, you know, if they see that, they're going to help you out. They're going to help you make it into a magical episode where if you walk in there, hey, I'm hot shit comic, like most of these young comics think they are. I get that a lot of booking comedy, you know. It's like, no, I don't have to earn my way. I'm hot shit comic. You're supposed to book me. Well, you think I'm supposed to book you. You two hot shit a comic from my club. Then you turn into an asshole because you don't book them. But, hey, I don't need everybody to like me. You know what I'm saying? I got the people I need to like me, and I'm doing just fine. But yeah, 1975, in the first season of Saturday Night Live, he got to host one show, brought him back for season 3 in 1978. So, I mean, you know, this was the guy, man. Robert Klein, back in the day, he was the guy burning up the scene there, doing it cleanly, you know. Let's see, 1979, nominated for Best Actor in they're playing our song, and you know, I thought about it. You know, you start out doing open mics, and from open mics, you know, I had a friend of mine ask me what are your goals in comedy. I almost said I'd like to release a comedy album. I mean, I made my album, then it was like, all right, well, where do I go from there? I said, well, I made the comedy album. I did a DVD special. Once I did that, where do I go from there? So I had to have a long thought about it. I'm like, well, if you're a comic, what's your ultimate goal in comedy? I thought it was to make a great comedy film, you know? I mean, look at Eddie Murphy in the Beverly Hills Cop series. So, you know, Robert Klein, man, he took acting. He put out a bunch of movies, and that's what I'm currently working on, so look for it. We got about probably a little under a year away from getting it done. Tough filming a movie in these COVID times. It's called The World Needs a New Superhero. Look for it on Amazon.Prime, and hopefully within a year we'll have that out there, but... I would always like to make a trilogy of it, but I'm finding out there's a lot of work involved in making a movie. So I'm just hoping to just get done this one, then we'll go from there. But this guy, man, he's doing his thing. Saturday Night Live, record albums, you know, movies, top of his game. Let's see, 1985 was on the Twilight Zone, which, if you go back to the Twilight Zone, it's like everybody was a nobody back then. It's like they're somebody nowadays. It's like, oh my God, he was on the Twilight Zone. Well, you didn't recognize him because he was a nobody. But if you went back, watched the old episodes, bunch of big stars was on that show. Let's see, 1986. He was given his own late night show. It was on the USA Network, and that went from 1986 to 1988, couple years of his own show. So there's a tribute. I mean, somebody gives you your own show. You know, the USA Network, sure, it ain't 4, 5, or 7 of your big channels, but they're a television network. They're on TV. You know, Conan, what's he on? TBS? I mean, who heard of that beforehand? I mean, it's not, you're not controlled by the industry anymore, you know? I thought about that too, and it's like, geez, everybody said, geez, you got to move out to LA or New York, man. If you want to make it big on the scene, you got to go to New York. And it's like, well, what do I got to New York for, man? It's like, go down there, I got to go down there and beg for a spot. Up here, I'm doing just as bigger rooms, and I don't have to beg for a spot because I'm running the show. Well, you got to go down there if you want theater. Well, you can do theater right here, okay? I mean, everything's going to the internet nowadays. It's not like, I thought, well, you got to go out to LA, man, and you got to, get an agent. You want to make a movie? I'm like, well, I'm making a movie right here in a small town in Massachusetts. So it's not like the olden days where the internet has changed everything, where you don't have to travel all over the place to be a big star anymore. The world is at your fingertips, and you can bring them right to you, where you don't have to go to them like you used to have to do. So what a day and age, what an opportunity. Make the most of it. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Klein hosted Monty Python live at the Arson with surviving members. It was a tribute show shown on HBO in 1988. So he brought back all the surviving members of Monty Python and did a tribute show to them because, a lot of the improv, a lot of the stuff, they started it all, man. If you know, it was like this guy did it. Well, before that it was this guy. Before that it was this guy. Before that it was Monty Python, and you really can't go too far before that where they brought out some original stuff that they were doing. Let's see, I mentioned the albums and specials he released, among them A Child of the 50s, Mind Over Matter, New Teeth, Let's Not Make Love, Robert Klein on Broadway. Yeah, and I think comedy's lost a lot because I remember the first Eddie Murphy, Delirious, when that came out. Me and my best friend, we both had the cassette tape, and we listened to our cars, and when we were hanging out, every situation would turn into a quote from that album, and it's like we just constantly crack each other up by shooting quotes from that album back and forth at each other, and, it's a lost thing where nowadays, you got to put out, you can make money on them. You had to pay $10 for an album, man. I mean, pay $10 for an album, you're making all kinds of money. Now with the free downloading, you can't make any money on an album, so you got to put out a free comedy special, and, again, with the internet, they can get that for free, so you got to make up for their ticket sales. That's why ticket sales have doubled in prices, because they don't make money anymore, so now instead of paying $10 for a comedy album and $10 for a ticket, you're getting a free comedy album and you're spending $20 for a ticket, or whatever it may be, so, a little bit's been lost, I think, from the experience, and I think Jeff Foxworthy, he's got the most selling comedy album of all time. It's not that nobody could break him nowadays. It's that nobody puts out a comedy album anymore. So I guess he'll go down in history as the all-time leader because they're not making them anymore. It's a whole different game than what we grew up on, and who knows what the future will hold. I guess. I guess live shows is it. We can't even do live shows now because of the pandemic, so I guess we're really shut down on this whole damn thing. But I guess we gotta hope it gets better. So all you can do is have hope, because I miss the live shows, but if you can't do the live shows, what do? You go to the TV, you go to the internet, you go to the, the YouTubes, you put something out, you don't let it keep you down. You turn a negative into a positive. I can't do live shows, so I'm filling that time. Well, I was making a movie anyway, but I got a puppet series I got coming out on a younger version of the movie. I got a talk group I'm doing for Father's Rights. I got a comic book I'm going to be working on. So hey, find the most of your time, and someday we'll be back. There is nothing like a live audience, so that's where it's at. I mean, can you control an audience and keep them interested? It's such a challenge. Every time you go out there, it's different. If it was the same night over and over to get bored, it's a different crowd every night. It's a different experience, and it just never gets old. And that's why guys like Carlin did it till the day they died, because Carlin made the money. He could have retired anytime he'd want to. Why would you want to retire? Why would you want to give up that thrill? Something you worked all your life for, you finally get it. You do it till the day you die. And that's what this guy did, so good for him. Let's see, I did mention he did some film work. How's this for a film career from 1970 to 2006? What is it, 70s, 80s, 90s? That's a 30-year film career. 1970, starting out with The Owl and the Pussycat. 1978 with Hooper. 1982, The Last Unicorn. 1994, The Radioland Murders. 1996, One Fine Day. 1998, Primary Colors. 2001, The Safety of Obstacles. 2002, 2 Week Notice. 2003, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And 2006, Ira and Abby. And here I am hoping I can put out one film, and here's a guy, you know, doing it for 30 years. So, hey, good for him. He earned it. He hit the big time, and like I said, you know, if you can put out, you know, movies on a regular basis, why wouldn't you do it? Why would you stop? Okay, and you know, a lot of people say, you know, like the Don Rickles, you know, he did it till the day he died, but he's in a wheelchair. But sometimes your body won't help hold up to your enthusiasm, and I got a weight problem, man. I do. A lot of weekends, man. I eat healthy, and I get to do stuff on the weekends in comedy, and when I don't, all I want to do is sleep. So I better start eating healthy, because I got a lot of stuff I got to put out for you guys, including this podcast, which I'm absolutely loving doing, because I'm learning about, you know, I'm learning about guys like Robert Klein, man, and the stuff that he did, and you can't stop his leg. So how funny is that? Just have something that simple. Can you imagine just have something? He said he was just playing the harmonica one night, and it just he was shaking his leg, and he just mentioned it in passing, I can't stop this leg, and the crowd went nuts. It's like, after that, it was a regular part, and the most remembered thing that he did, and it was just something so simple, it was stupid, and turned into a legendary thing. So those are the things. The real life things are so much funnier than you could have sat down and wrote jokes at a table for weeks on end and not come up with something that genius and that simple that came off the top of your head. Those are the magic moments in comedy you live for right there. Let's see, TV did a series called Sisters in the 70s. The animated series Duckman. Here's one more from our time. And this, I guess, where I remember him from was NBC's Family Ties he was on a little bit. CBS is The King of Queens he was on. So there's a few shows more from our time, or if you were around the 70s, the kids of today may remember their parents watching those shows right there. Worked with Adam Sandler on Mixed Nuts and Reign Over Me. So, yeah, Adam Sandler, he was good like that. I remember at Henry Winkler into his movies because he was a big fan of Happy Days. And you're a fan of Happy Days, who don't want to work with the Fonz? And, you know, apparently Adam was a fan of Robert Klein's, and he's a big enough star he can choose to work with his childhood heroes. How cool is that? So, yeah, I remember, geez, I booked Jimmy Walker one time from Good Times, and I had him up. I had a local television show called The Comedy Kitchen. They're still on YouTube. You can check them out. I had Jimmy Walker on my TV show, and it was just a thrill to work with a guy you grew up watching on TV like that, watching on Good Times, you know, and now you're working with him. I always wanted him, and I wanted Gabe Kaplan, Welcome Back, Carter, and I guess Gabe, after his comedy career, went out and played poker and made so much money playing poker that he don't want to do the comedy anymore, which at his age, I can understand that, you know, I mean, you know, like I said, your body don't keep up. If you're going to put your body through all that traveling and stuff at his age, when you're young, your body can take it. At his age, you know, it's a bit much. He won't do it unless it's for big bucks. So, hey, I got one of the two, and I've worked with some other legends, and I've had a fun time, and I'm still having a fun time. And I shall do this like them until the day I die, because I'm having too much fun to stop. Let's see, he played the mayor of New York City in 2 of the Sharknado films, so, who knew that? I know the Sharknado films are like a cult underground classic film. That's what I'm hoping the movie I'm making, The World Needs a New Superhero, I'm hoping that becomes a cult underground classic where everybody's talking about it and tuning it in. He played Grace's father in the revival of the Will and Grace TV series. That didn't last that long, but it was a legendary TV series that he was involved with. Released an autobiography, the Emmer's busboy of Decore Avenue, a child of the 50s, a look back, where I guess he talked about his comedy career. So if you want to read his book, go check that out. How popular was this guy at the time? Billy Crystal and Jay Leno both said that Robert inspired them to do comedy. That some of his stuff, Jay even said he had a poster of Robert above his bed. So how much you're idolizing this guy in comedy? You got a poster of him above your bed. Probably like I idolize this guy here, Sam Kinison. Guy just cracked me up, and I would have listened to comedy forever, but when I heard Sam Kinison do it, I had to try it, and I've had some of the funnest times of my life because I tried it, and he's the guy who inspired me. So Robert Klein, you're the guy who inspired the Billy Crystals and the Jay Lenos, and look at all the movies Jay gave us and all the years of comedy, Billy and Jay gave us on the Tonight Show. I mean, just all inspired by this guy. Come on, man. What more can you ask for from a legendary career? Robert Klein, it got capped off. He released a 4 DVD box set of all his HBO specials from 1975 to 2005. That's 30 years, man. Like I said, I don't know. I think Carlin's got the most HBO comedy specials out there, but this guy can't be far behind if you're talking 30 years of damn comedy specials this guy's been doing. Robert Klein, man, check it out. I checked him out on YouTube to prepare for this, and he was absolutely cracking me up. Now he's making me sneeze. It's snooty. I got a dust in here someday, I guess. I don't come in here until it's time to do my podcast, and by the time there's so much dust, I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping myself to death here with the dust making me sneeze. But you know what? I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun with me, because I can't stop this podcast. I can't stop this podcast. I can't stop this podcast. I would not stop this podcast. We're learning so much on this podcast. I love this podcast. It's funny like a clown. Funny like a clown. Funny like a clown podcast. Till next week, we'll see you then, folks. Keep laughing. Good night.